Thanks, I'm pleased to be here. I am Mickey Cochrane. I checked my wallet, and my ID did say George Washington, but I know who I really am. But I love Orem. I've lived here since 1985. Kathy and I actually first moved to Orem in 1975, about 5 weeks before the birth of our first child. I was here to finish my 4th senior year at my 4th university, having lost lots of hours as I moved back and forth. So I completed that in 1975. I went to work in Nebo School District, taught 4th grade for half a year, was hired by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to teach Seminary and Institute, and we moved to Huntington, Utah. Now Huntington, well, some of you know that. We lived there for 9 years. During that time, I finished my master's degree and came back to BYU to do my doctorate. Now, I love Orem. When we came back, when we moved back, we decided there was no other place that we wanted to live but Orem. We by then had 4 children. I've been actively involved in Orem. I've done a lot of things here. I've owned businesses. I've taught at BYU, which is not in Orem, but nonetheless a lot of us who have taught at BYU live in Orem. So I've been on the neighborhood planning committees, currently on the Board of Adjustments. I also am on the Planning Commission. All of this volunteer work. And as I said, I love this city. I've been actively involved in TRIP and the State Street Core process, the Geneva Road Core project. When Kathy and I first moved to Orem in 1975, Center Street ended at about 400 East. It was gravel. It did not drop down to University Avenue. And I built or helped build some of the first houses on 800 East. When we moved back in 1985, there was a little bit of difference. We then bought a home on 640 North, 750 East, and behind us, all there were orchards all the way to 800 North. That's all now all filled in. Is Orem growing? Yes, it is. Are our residential neighborhoods growing? Yes, they are. Is there a need for us to plan and look forward to additional growth in Orem? Definitely is. And it can't be done by anecdotal stories, nor can it be done by emotion. It has to be well thought out, reasoned, planned, managed. We have a great city staff. I've worked with them for a number of years. There are a lot of far-sighted individuals. This thing's not going to work again. They've got hands to you. Here we go. But let me say this. You can read about me on all of the online platforms. I promised that I would not accept any donations. I'm not going to buy a position on the City Council. I believe I have earned a position to be on the City Council because of my active involvement in Orem City. Raised my children here. You know, my grandchildren, my son bought the house across the street from us. So I've got all my grandchildren over there too. You can see what I have to say. I'll not be owned by any people, which is why no donations. I'm not putting up any sign. It is me. I am Orem everyman. That's who I am. I would say vote for Pedro, but that's not my name. Vote for Mickey. I really am the best candidate for City Council. Thank you.
I apologize. We'll get Adam back here to help us figure it out. Mike's going on and off. Tonight is being streamed on the Orem City Government Facebook page, so you can also go back and look at that at a later time.
Test.
Let's go.
I actually am on the Planning Commission with Mickey, and I can vouch for his great work on our Planning Commission. I'm Debbie Laurea. I've had the honor of serving on the council for the last 4 years. I was a cheerleader. I can talk. My education, my experience, and my talents, I've worked to improve Orem to keep us strong. Have a unique voice as a wife, mother, and grandmother to 26. I'm passionate about preserving Orem for my family and yours. I'd like to outline 5 areas where I feel like I've contributed the last 4 years. Strong neighborhoods. I've listened and I've read 7 completed neighborhood plans. I personally was an advisor on the Northridge and Heatherridge Windsor plan. The common themes include these things. 1, preserve and protect our safe, clean, family-friendly neighborhoods. Promote low-density developments. Preserve and invest in our existing parks support future plans for the North Union Canal Trail, improve trails and paths for bikes and walkers, promote safety in schools, buffer commercial along State Street, build community gardens, reduce traffic congestion. I will work over the next 4 years to implement your suggestions. Every week I volunteer at Tabitha's Way, which is a food pantry. Every week I see the working poor. They struggle to find affordable housing. I'll be an advocate for them and welcome new ideas and innovative ways to deal with this problem. I've already met with our planners with many ideas, and you will soon see an Imagine Orem affordable housing study that will have many strategies that will help alleviate this problem. We are a growing community, but that growth needs to be done right and in the right places. Our new master State Street plan has more livability and more walkability. Second, strong public safety. A well-trained and valued police force and fire are essential to our community's health and safety. I personally lobbied for more police every year. Recently, we've implemented a career ladder option for our first responders, which will result in extra pay increase for those who qualify. And this is to the tune of almost $500,000. We've created a plan to hire 5 new police officers, including a mental illness officer, to help accommodate our growing needs. If you do the math, it's about a quarter a cop. We are saving for a new fire station in Orem, Southwest Orem, which will also need 15 new firefighters. Your safety and well-being is one of my top priorities. Strong economic development. We are heavily dependent upon sales tax revenue. Luckily, we are business friendly. I will work to broaden our tax base by attracting new businesses. I've had over a decade of experience as an economic developer in North Utah County and as a chamber executive. Along with my BYU MPA, I am the expert on the Council for Economic Development, not only attracting but retaining our great businesses. I personally worked on the Adobe project to bring them to Utah County, but I've also helped the mom and pops and their cottage industries that they've had in their homes. I calculated that I've helped over 200 businesses grow here in Utah County. Strong fiscal management. Not only are we increasing our rainy day funds with one-time monies, we've adopted a pay-as-you-go philosophy. We save for large capital projects like a new fire truck. We are fiscally conservative and sensitive to your family's budget. We know that economists are telling us that a recession is going to happen within 2 years. We are working to stabilize our revenues so that when the downturn comes, we will not be scrambling to pay for essential services. Strong quality of life. I am so proud of the amenities that we have built. We've invested in new playgrounds, futsal courts, pickleball courts, dog parks, splash pad. We're building our new library. I'm Debbie Laurea, and I ask for your vote.
My name's Jeff Lambson. I would like to propose that we increase the budget so that we can have a microphone. My name is Jeff Lambson, and I want to thank all of you for being here this evening. I know that there are other things that you could be doing, and I'm grateful that you care enough to be here to listen and to get to know the candidates a little bit better. I want to thank Debbie Laurea and Sam Lentz, who currently serve on the City Council, as well as the current City Council and our mayor. Politics can be a thankless job, and I'm learning that more and more each day as we're out knocking on doors. But I know that they have worked very, very hard to make our city a better place, so thank you to all of them. I also want to thank our police and fire departments, our first responders, for the tireless efforts that they put in to make our community safe and for us to be protected. And I want to make their well-being one of my top priorities as I run for the Orem City Council. I also want to thank my fellow candidates who are here on the stage this evening. This is not an easy process, and it's hard. It takes a lot of hard work. And so I want to applaud each of them for the hard work and for their goodness and being willing to put themselves out in front, as was said, in a glass bowl. I consider it a great blessing and a great opportunity to be able to get to know each of them and to consider them my friends. I'm not running against anyone that's here on the stage this evening, but I'm running for a position that's being left open by Councilman Mark Seastrand, who is not running for re-election. I would much rather take some time and talk about you and learn about you and what your concerns are, but I understand that you learning about me is part of the process. I've never been one that enjoys talking about themselves, so here goes. I grew up here in Orem. I've lived here my whole life. I grew up under the watchful eye of Mount Timpanogos. I went to Orem schools. I played baseball on the baseball diamonds here, played tennis on the tennis courts here, rode my bike all around the streets of Orem. I met my beautiful wife Darla here in Orem, and we have raised our 6 amazing children here in Orem. Our children have all gone to Orem schools. Orem is where we chose to build our home, to raise our family, and to invest our talents into the community. My wife Darla has served for over 20 years on the Miss Orem Scholarship Pageant. I served on the City of Orem Family Fest Summer Committee for several years, back before it was even the Summerfest. I've served on the Care Commission for 2 terms. I've served in the Boy Scouts of America. I've volunteered hundreds of hours as a coach on soccer, baseball, and basketball. I love working with the youth, and I'm excited to see the great things that lay ahead for each of them as they strive to do their very best. I've noticed throughout my life that there have been 3 things that have brought joy to me and to my family. That's God, family, and service. I love the opportunity of serving and trying to help others. I would also like to note that we built a successful business here in Orem, a company called Granite Publishing and Distribution, where our mission was to publish, produce, and distribute things that were positive, uplifting, and inspirational. And that continues to be our goal in the way that we live our life, to be positive, uplifting, and inspirational. My name is Jeff Lambson. I ask for your support. I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Is that on? Okay. So I'm Sam Lentz on the Orem City Council. I'm just finishing up my first term this year. I want to take a step back to about 6 years ago when I went to my first city council meeting, since I think it was a Cub Scout in Pennsylvania where I grew up. And one of the reasons we bought our home here in Orem was I work from home and I wanted fast, reliable internet, and I knew Orem had fiber internet. So I thought, oh, this is going to be perfect. So we bought the house, we move in, I call up, guess what? We don't get it at our address. And I didn't find that out until we'd already bought our house. So I started going to the meetings. Like many of you over the years, maybe there's an issue that maybe gets under your skin a little bit, or you want to know what is the city doing to solve this. And so I started going to every city council meeting, trying to give them ideas of, I think we could fix this if we tried this. And after a couple of years of that, I realized I don't think anything's going to change unless somebody that cares about this and is passionate about this issue runs for city council and takes this challenge on. At the time, Utopia was kind of a political landmine. We were in all this debt, and it was only benefiting about a third of the city. And we were frustrated because there just wasn't an end in sight. We didn't know when Orem was going to be built out, when this amazing service that had so much promise was going to be available to all of our citizens. And our debt payments were going up each year. So we pay about $3 million a year to Utopia, and by 2040, that would have been about $4.5 million. So as I was working on that for the first few years on the city council, I came up with some proposals for how we could get the entire city built out without any new debt, any city debt, I should say. We essentially would have co-signed on the loan like we've been doing for the last 9 years with Utopia. And you know what? It's been completely self-sustaining. That model has never cost Orem. We haven't had to pay into that debt at all. But sometimes you're only one voice of 7, and so things don't go the way that you want to. We kind of move at the speed of government. Sometimes, do you feel that ever? And so what I did at that point, once I realized, okay, this solution isn't going to go forward, what can we do to make the situation better, to make the status quo work better for Orem? And as of May, we finally have a build-out plan when all of Orem will have access to Utopia within 3 to 4 years. And again, no new debt, no new taxes, no new fees, and that means that everybody in Orem will be able to choose to have the fastest internet in the United States. And I know maybe sometimes internet seems like a luxury, but when you're trying to send that email or you're having a FaceTime with your grandkids or something like that, I like the idea of we're not going to be dependent on whoever the monopoly provider is in our area. We can choose from a dozen different providers, and if we don't like the service we're getting, we can go to somebody else. So that's something I've been working on. That's been one of my primary areas of focus for the last few years. Debbie talked a little bit about what, at this current moment, what I consider my top priority and what I want to try to focus on, and that's our police and fire departments. This year, I did something I never expected to do, and especially during a re-election year. I didn't know I was going to be running again this time, but I proposed a property tax increase. And now in Orem, that seems like a weird thing to be announcing when you're asking for people's vote, right? But I did that because the cuts that people were asking for, that already took place about about 10 years ago when the recession hit. And Orem was essentially going through the couch cushions to come up with every single penny we could. And so those cuts hit our police and fire really hard. And so as we've rebuilt, we've tried to do that in a sustainable way. And that's why this year I proposed, it comes out to less than $1 a month for the median household. That, as Debbie mentioned, that allows us to hire 4 new police officers. The next thing I'd like to tackle is how do we ramp up our fire department so that when it's time to open up that 5th fire station, we're ready to go. I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Thank you so much, and I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Martin Wright. I've lived in Orem about 19 years. And everybody asks, well, why did you decide to run for city council? How many people in here are proud to be from Orem? Raise your hand. If you're proud to be from Orem, raise your hand. Right? We're all proud to be from Orem. Huh?
Adopted Orem?
Adopted Orem, Orem, it doesn't matter. To live in Orem. What is it like to live in Orem? Are we satisfied with our life in Orem? Is everybody satisfied?
No, we're not satisfied.
We're not satisfied, are we? I've learned really in the last few weeks, all the emails I've gotten, is people aren't satisfied. There's issues out there. There's issues that need to be resolved, that need to be figured out, that need to be looked at carefully. You know, what do we want to do? What do we want to do about the growth? What do we want to do about, you know, schools and communities? What do we do? The city council has done a great job, in my opinion, of putting some of those things forth. I applaud the city council for saying, let's hire some more policemen. For $1 a month, for 4 policemen, they get my vote. Anybody else? $1 a month is all we're paying for 4 new policemen. Does that make you feel safe? Do you want to be safe? Yeah, I might sound really bad saying, well, we're raising taxes. Guess what? I came from a place where I paid $5,200 a year tax, property tax. We pay the lowest tax rate in the country. We don't make, there's not a lot. We get a lot from sales revenue, but we don't get a lot. You know, we need to take care of ourselves. We need to take care of the community. We need to take care of each other. Yeah, do we need affordable housing? Yes. But what's affordable housing? Does everybody who buys a brand new house, do they need 32,000 square feet with a 1/4 acre in the backyard? How many people started with that when they first bought a house? Anybody? Mine was 900 square feet with not very much land. We need to change the mindset. We need to understand that people don't need to have everything. Not everything needs to be given to us. We need to earn it. Okay? It's not a right, it's a privilege. It's a privilege to live in this country, to be able to have the freedoms. I just made a cross-country trip to Durham, North Carolina. I didn't get stopped once. Went the speed limit. But what other country can you do that in? None. Lots of European ones. But you don't get the freedom. Sometimes you don't get the freedom. You got to show your passport every state you go into or every country you go into. I can go to any state and enjoy. I love Orem. I run in the morning. I was out at 4:30 this morning running the streets of Orem, putting my 10 miles in. You know, there's just something about Orem that is special, and we need to keep it special. We need to keep it a family-friendly community, and make sure that we have those ordinances and things that help us to make this a better city. Thank you, and vote for Martin Wright, the right choice.
Okay, my name is Tommy Williams, and I've lived in Orem almost all my life. Went to Mountain View High School, went to UVU. I love UVU and all the sports there. I'm running. I don't think that on student council or the council here we actually have a voice for the people. That's the reason why I'm running. And I'm not going to tell you I have all the answers to fix everything, because I definitely don't. If you elect me, I'd actually be working for you. So actually, I'd expect you to actually tell me things that need to be done and ways to fix the problems, because there's lots of problems in Orem, but there's lots of good things in Orem. And let's see. Oh, and there's other people. You come by my table. Hopefully you elect me, but there's like 5 or 6 people I really like on the council up here. Hopefully you guys can get one of those 5 on. That's about it.
Well, first I just want to thank the city for putting this together. This is fantastic to see such a large group of people that are this involved in our local government that want to get to know the candidates that they're going to vote for their elected officials. And thank you so much to the Scera for putting on this event and your beautiful theater. We really appreciate that. My name is Spencer Rands, and I'm running for Orem City Council because this is where I'm raising my family. I have 3 boys, a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 3-month-old, and more than likely more on the way in the future at some point with my wife. And I want to make sure that Orem stays family friendly. I want to make sure that this city remains a wonderful place to raise a family, not just for my family, but for all the families to come, for the grandkids and everyone, because that is why people love Orem, because it is so wonderful to raise a family here. One of the ways we can do this is as I've talked to you guys, whether it be on your doorstep or in your home, there's been frustration that people don't feel like they're being heard. People don't feel like they're getting the communication with their elected officials that they want. They're feeling like by the time input is asked for, the decisions are already made. And so I think we need to improve that communication line between our elected officials and the residents and get their input before decisions are being made. And I think we can do that. I think we can improve that communication. I believe in spending within our current budget. Right now there is currently 3 different groups that would up your taxes this year. Alpine School District, the Water Conservancy District, and the City of Orem, all in one year trying to raise taxes. I'm a business owner, and I'm a firm believer in spending within your budget, and I believe that I can take that experience and the tough decisions that I've had to make in business to make sure that we stayed on budget. I believe I can bring that to the City Council. I'm also a big believer in police. We need more police officers. I've talked to the police officers here in Orem, and many of them feel like they are being overburdened, and so we do need more police officers. And I believe that as our revenues go up from sales tax and property values going up, I think we need to redirect those extra funds that we're getting each year, year over year. Our revenues have gone up, and I would direct those funds to our priorities, which should be our fire and police. So I do believe that we can fund those things and get those extra police officers that we do need without raising the taxes. Lastly, we need to preserve our neighborhoods. We need to make sure that these wonderful, beautiful neighborhoods that we have here in Orem remain for families and generations to come. I don't believe in tearing down our neighborhoods, whether it be to build a business, a parking lot, or an apartment. I think we need to preserve those and make sure that they are here, because this is why we moved here, because we love those beautiful neighborhoods. Thank you again. So with that said, if there is one of those businesses that wants to be here in Orem, I welcome them, but we need to make sure that it's in the right spot. We need to make sure that we have the infrastructure. We need to make sure that we have the parking. We need to make sure that we're not overburdening our roads with traffic and things that would not make it Family City USA. So every decision I make on City Council is going to be with that mindset of how will this affect the Orem families, and if it's not going to affect them in a positive way, then I'm not going to be for it. Lastly, I have absolutely loved meeting you all as I've walked through the neighborhoods and I've chatted with you tonight. If you do not get an opportunity to speak with me today at my table, go on my website, send me an email, send me a text message, if text message your thing. Call me. I would like to talk with as many of you as possible if we don't have a chance to talk tonight. You can find that all on my website on voterands.com. And again, my name is Spencer Rands, and I'm asking for your vote for Orem City Council. Thank you so much.
In these last 2 years, I've had some of the greatest and some of the scariest times in my life. Some of the greatest because I met the love of my life, and I got my first big boy job 2 years after out of college, hoping, searching, finding a job as a civil engineer. But one of the scariest times came when my wife and I started thinking, okay, now that we're going to create a life together, what does that mean? What does that mean for our finances, for any lives we bring into our home? And we listened to Dave Ramsey. And Dave Ramsey, if you don't know, he gives great financial advice. If you're in dire straits financially, listen to his talks. But one of the things that he said was, if you're looking for a rental home, do not pay more than 25% of your take-home pay. And so I'll give you all a little secret. When I first started, I was just making a little under 50 grand, and that's what I'm making today, more or less. And I looked around, and I couldn't find anything in Utah County. I was finding things in the 800s, the 900s, but that 700, that sweet spot, the take-home pay, there weren't very many. I checked in today on Zillow. There are 8 total places for rent available in all of Utah County, not just Orem. It got so bad that I had to do 3 applications and and each one of them failed because someone else came at the last moment and paid cash and got the place before I could get in. It got so bad that 1 week away before I was to move out of my place and start my life with my wife, I didn't have anything. I had money in the bank, I had a job, but I had no place to live. And thank goodness a place opened in Orem, and I am so grateful to be an Orem resident right now. But I am here talking to you today because there is a serious issue when it comes to affordable housing. And we have faced this before. If any of you know who George Romney is, that's the father of Mitt Romney. And back in the day, he was in charge of housing and urban development. And I actually have a printout article right here talking about national housing crisis is reflected in need for greater residential development in Orem. In the 1970s, this is not a new problem. But it requires, every time it pops up, for us to make new solutions. And back then, the solutions were time to turn the orchards into residential neighborhoods, time to add in trailer park homes, time to add in apartments. And that's what worked then. And maybe some of you were in that boat where you were just like me, starting out nervous, trying to figure out how you're going to start this new life. And maybe you benefited from having a home that was in your price range, or a grant from HUD, or any number of things. But I'm standing here today because we can demonize high-density development, or we can find ways for it to work for us. We can redevelop places, not bulldoze the neighborhoods. We can do mixed-use zones. We can use our neighborhood plans, which I showed up to and I helped contribute with, and we can look at our master plans. At the end of the day, I want to make sure that we have responsive and responsible development. And I'm hoping as a civil engineer that I can weigh in on that. And I can say, yeah, we're not going to bring an apartment in until 1, the neighbors are in agreement, 2, the developers can give an affordable price for what they're about to build, and 3, that we have the infrastructure there to take them. I want to also make sure that we have enough officers to handle all of the incoming people. And finally, I want us to have sustainable growth. Sustainable financially, sustainable environmentally, and I want us to keep our lifestyle here. And I believe that we can still be Family City USA if we let everyone and their family come in to live here where we can let them. My name is David Holladay, and I would really appreciate your vote. Thank you so much.
My name's Terry Peterson. We are having a lot of fun. We've been knocking on doors all around our city and listening to your concerns. In fact, my granddaughter said, "Grandpa, you've knocked on millions and millions of doors." That might be a little bit of exaggeration, But I do have a message because I'm asking questions, and the message is, I hear you. Let me share a couple examples. I talked to a man that has a business in North Orem. He's been there for a number of years. A high-density apartment was built right across the street from his business. Now his clients aren't able to park in the parking in his building that he owns because it's all taken up by the high-density apartments where there wasn't enough planning for their parking. So I said, well, what are you going to do? He said, I'm leaving Orem. I'm going to move my business to another city because I can't get any satisfaction. That's not acceptable. We cannot lose businesses in our town because of high-density apartments squeezing out businesses. We need to continue to be business-friendly. Also, next to his business is is a residential area. They also have the same issue. We cannot lose residents in our city because of high-density housing. We need to be sure that high-density housing is not being put in the middle of neighborhoods. We need to protect our neighborhoods. So let me share another story. Knocked on a door of a lady, single lady. She had a modest career, a modest income. She lives by herself, her and her dog. And she was very passionate when she told me her concerns about the city. One was the utopia that went across the front of her yard. It's torn up her yard, and she's not happy with that. She's also concerned about her water bill that's gone up quite a bit, and she's on a fixed income. The other concern she had is what's going to go on behind her neighborhood. Is there going to be a high-density apartment built? So I listened to her concerns. I appreciated her passion for the city. And then as I was leaving, she said, wait just a minute. She walked into her house and came out and handed me some cash. Well, that's the kind of people I want to represent. And that cash is to go to the campaign. So I thank her very much for that. My background is I met my high school sweetheart, Sherry, at Orem High School. She's here tonight, and she's been very passionate in our campaign and working hard. Also, our 6 children, I appreciate them very much. My mother-in-law, who's sitting right in the middle here, is 88 years old. She's also been campaigning, bless her heart. She taught at Mountain View, Sherma Sondrup. My father-in-law, Keith Sondrup, probably taught some of you to drive at Orem High School. So we're lifelong residents of this city, very passionate about what happens here. My background is I graduated from BYU in finance. I have my career was with Morgan Stanley as a senior vice president and financial advisor. I understand balance sheets. I understand analyzing companies. I can do that with our city budget. I also want to share one other experience. 2 ladies called me the other day and wanted to come up and visit with me. The lady asked for 50 signs. That's 50. Now, these ladies aren't in the best of health. The one lady's had cancer and also has some other health issues. But she is passionate about preserving our neighborhoods, worried about the future of our city, asked for the signs. She's going to go around the city with some of her relatives and pass out door hangers and signs. That means a lot to me. That's why I'm running for the city council. I'm unencumbered. I don't have any agenda. I don't have any special interest group that is supporting me. I have a passion for our city. I'm concerned about the direction it's going. I love our city. I want to see it continue to be a city where families feel safe, where you can live in a neighborhood and not worry about what the future is going to be for your city and for your neighborhood. I thank you for your time. My name's Terry Peterson, and I ask for your vote.
When I was 18, I graduated high school and had a year before I served my LDS mission. I went to Salt Lake Community College in the pre-engineering program, and I landed a really neat internship with Salt Lake County Public Works. My boss's name was Lamar, and he had more years of experience than I had alive. I remember on one job, Lamar brought me aside and he said, "Dave, do you know why we're out here on the road inspecting these cuts?" I said, "Well, we're monitoring traffic and we're monitoring safety." And he pointed to the hole and he said, "Dave, how many layers do you count in that hole?" I said, "There's 4 layers." He said, "No, there's 5. He said, "How thick is that asphalt?" I said, "Well, that asphalt's 3-4 inches thick." He said, "It's 7 inches thick." He said, "Engineers before us designed this road so that it will be able to handle the traffic and the longevity of the road. And we're here to make sure that those materials that they took out are the same materials that go back in to maintain the longevity of this road." That's why I'm running for city council, because I'm a little bit worried about the materials that we're using for the longevity of Orem. Specifically, I was sitting down with an executive just this last week of a company here in Orem who's busting at the seams, and I said, where are you going? And he said, well, I'm going to American Fork. And I said, well, why aren't you staying in Orem? And he laughed at me. And he said, no one wants to live in Orem. Can you name one tech startup in the last 5 years that have put their business here in Orem? I can't. And that worries me, because those are the jobs that attract families, that keep Orem City family friendly. Second issue we have, I don't know how many of you, but I avoid Orem Center Street at all costs. Yeah. My brother has a PhD in traffic safety engineering, and he's talked to me a lot about this, and the concern isn't just that traffic's an inconvenience, it's a safety and a city liability issue. And it's something that if we don't focus on, can come back to haunt us in the long run. And finally, I don't know if you know this, but at one time, Orem City boasted that it was the most fiscally responsible city in America. And now, we're approaching average. That's a trend I don't want to be on. I believe we need to either maximize the usefulness of your tax dollars or not use them at all. Today's problems cannot be solved with the same level of thinking that created them. That's Einstein. And I believe we need some creative, some new, and some innovative solutions to some of the challenges that Orem's facing today. So I ask you this time that when you go and vote, you think about what you've done in the past, and you think about the results, and you need to think about doing something different. Because if you don't, we all know what that's the definition of. So this Orem election, when you vote by mail or when you vote by foot, I ask you to vote so that we can put the right materials into our foundation to maintain our safety and our longevity as a city. So I ask you to vote. Remember that Orem has 2 vowels, Prisbila has 1 vowel, and I thank you for your vote. David Prisbila for Orem. Thank you.
Hi, Michelle Jenson. Sorry, it's people my age. We have to take notes on this. Let me just start. I have my husband and my 2 little kids here. I have a 4-year-old and a 9-year-old. I have lived in Orem for 3 years. I've lived in Utah for about 18. So I think I was trying to think of, people keep asking me why I'm doing this at this stage in my life. And it just seemed like it's something I'm already doing. It's not really anything I set out to do. I'm not on, looking to set out on a trajectory of like a political career. It's just, these are already my interests. My sincere passion is really digging into where I am and being a part of my community. And I kind of, just in the 3 years that I've been here in the neighborhood that I've been in, I don't really fit, I didn't think this was a place where I would belong, and that I would be necessarily accepted here. And Orem has proven to be such a wonderful place to live, specifically in my community and neighborhood experience. I'm so interested in passing that torch on to the rest of our community. And what I mean by that is unity is something that's very important to me, in welcoming all of our community and making them feel valued, important, heard, seen. And I feel like I was given all of those wonderful things right from the get-go when I moved here, and I want to make sure that all of our residents feel that. My other passion is just really making sure I can do the best with what I've been given, and that includes in my community too, making sure I can give my family, specifically my younger children that will grow up here, we just bought our home here, the best life possible. And what that looks like for me is walkability, sustainability, reducing carbon footprint, and those are just kind of the things I get interested in anyway. They sound super geeky, but I'm very interested in urban planning, for example, State Street and Center Street, it's already been something that's been mentioned, but I would love to make this a place where, and I know that we're already on track with the State Street Master Plan, but we're about 30 years out on completion, and so I would love to find ways to fast track those projects if possible, so that we're able to be able to ride our bikes outside, have me and my family ride where we'd like to, walk where we'd like to, enjoy our outdoor spaces a little bit more. Right now, I would never take a family bike ride on State Street, and I want to be sure that that's something that we can do. One of my favorite things about living in Orem is we have access to everything that we need, probably within 15 minutes. Or at least I feel that way, whether it's a trail or the grocery store you'd like to choose, we can get there, and I frequently don't choose to walk or bike there because of the lack of, wider bike lanes, designated bike lanes, elevated bike lanes, whatever that may be, wide enough sidewalks, visibility for pedestrians. Also, I'm very interested in where we're going, embracing our growth as a city. I'm running out of time. Please ask me any questions. I love to talk one-on-one with you afterwards. I'd love to have you consider voting for me. Thanks so much.